got him. What's up, guys? I hope you enjoyed those first few clips in the video. Those are just showing the awesome weapon that is the RPG-7v2. So today, on the subject of weapons, I want to be talking about the current trend of like wanting super customizable weapons and soldiers and gadgets in video games, and why I personally think like it was better before. Like, I'm not saying that I don't like what Battlefield 4 does with weapons and what, say for example, Black Ops 2 did with weapons, etc. But I think it's coming to the point now where weapons are almost too customizable. A good example is Battlefield 4, which is obviously why I have the footage in the background. So with Battlefield 4 there's easily over 100 weapons in the game, and there's probably 500 plus different weapon and attachment combinations you can have. And really there's no downside. You know, there's more downside to running a gun naked than there is to running it with a few other attachments. Like you can see on screen here, I've got the AEK with the Cobra sight, a suppressor, and probably a stubby grip. And, you know, there's no downside. I mean, 3 attachments, there is no downside. I'd be so much more disadvantaged if I was using it naked. But back in, say, like, Call of Duty 4, where you didn't really have much choice of what to use for attachments. You had your camos, you had your attachments, and this is what really gained like the cult status for ultra customizable weapons. But back then, you know, everything was a sacrifice. If you wanted to kind of stay off the map and play stealthy, and your class was built around that, you had to run a suppressor. You can't run anything else. You can't have a red dot sight. You've got to learn the sights of your weapon. So if you want to have like a stealthy class, because you just can't put a suppressor and a red dot sight together. It's just not how the game worked. And the same was kind of true with Modern Warfare 2. I really didn't like Modern Warfare 2 at all. I think it's a shit game. And I know people will probably criticise me for that, but I really didn't enjoy it. I don't know why I put myself through getting 10th Prestige, but anyway, that's another topic. There was always an element of sacrifice with the attachments there. Even though you had a perk that could have you put 2 attachments on a gun, you still had to sacrifice, say, a faster reload or being able to sprint more for that, and it was a really valuable sacrifice that you had to make. Like, my example is the FAMAS. For like a year and a half in Modern Warfare 2, I could just never use the FAMAS's iron sights. I don't know why, they were pretty simple. They were just, you know, a post and a semicircle around it, but I just couldn't use it. I just couldn't get a grip on it, so I always had to run some sort of sight, which meant I could never really run the grenade launcher or the silencer, my bad, unless I wanted to use bling. And if I wanted to use bling, I couldn't reload fast, which was really important for me. I always wanted to reload fast in that game, or wanted to be able to pick up ammo off the floor with scavenger. So the sacrifice is really important in weapon customization, I think, and Battlefield 4 is a huge offender in that there's really not much sacrifice. Like, for example, the heavy barrel. The heavy barrel adds more recoil but reduces the spread, but that's negatable just by learning to pull your mouse down or drag your stick down a bit, or burst firing, although if you burst fire, I don't know why you're worried about your spread. I mean, burst firing is the most effective method of firing in Battlefield 4. Anyway, so, you know, most of the effects are negatable by human input and not by an intrinsic value that you can't change. So there's a lot of like the culture now in gaming of, you've got a weapon, here are your attachments, and you're entitled to it. You're given your attachments pretty much, and there's no real negative effects. And the people who want to run a bare bones gun, like with no attachments, are actually at a disadvantage themselves. And lately I've been running a complete naked spaz, and it's sick. But I know that there are probably people out there using, you know, full chokes that are getting more range, and there's no real downside to using a full choke. Another good example of this was Bad Company 2, a good example of a polar opposite, that is, of what I'm talking about now. Bad Company 2, you had to sacrifice things, like, really sacrifice. There was no downside to using a red dot sight, in that it didn't add more recoil to your gun, but you couldn't use magnum ammo, which was basically the stopping power of Battlefield. But in the same vein, everybody used magnum ammo, but everybody used body armor. So it really cancelled each other out, and you'd get this meta where it wasn't easily definable. You know, people would use all sorts of different things, and everybody would be still pretty much on the same playing field. And, you know, I think that's kind of like what's wrong with like customization in games today. It's that there's no real downside, there's too much of it. I personally really enjoyed Bad Company 2, and I felt that every death I took was pretty much fair, but a lot of times in Battlefield 4 I just don't feel that way. And I don't know whether it's because it plays differently or because there's so much choice that you can never really compete with everybody else. But I think I definitely preferred the days where it was more gun skill over what you had on your gun. So that's all I really have to say on this topic. I'd love to know what you think. If you want to put it in the comments or message me on YouTube or whatever, I'd be very happy to hear it. I hope you've enjoyed this video as much as I have making it. I will probably make some more Battlefield 4 videos soon. I've been playing a lot of it recently, so why not? Anyway, that's about all I have to say for today. So I will see you guys later. Bye.